32. First thing I'd like to do is welcome Ed back to the board. He was recently reappointed. And it was advertised, there was no interest expressed anywhere by anybody, so the council reappointed Ed. And welcome our newest member, Kevin Salkin from Sweden Township. Welcome to our world.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, first on the agenda, reorganizational meeting. Before I open floor to nominations for officers, I would like to make it known that any and all positions are available for any board member that would like to assume them. Maybe following in the footsteps of the Borough Council, we'll put it out for anybody that wants to. It's not an automatic thing. Anybody that wants this chair, that chair, this chair, it doesn't, you're more than welcome to throw your name into the arena. With that being said, I'll open the floor to nominations for officers.
Is there anyone that would like a motion to keep the same slate of officers?
I will make that motion.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Yes, ma'am.
Would you state for the record who is,
William Krog is the chairman, Todd Brown is the co-chairman, Paul Herzig is the treasurer.
Vice chairman.
Yeah.
What did I say? Co-chairman?
Vice is better.
Vice chairman.
Paul, treasurer / secretary.
Yes. Point of order now. After the vote, does that mean the only way we can get rid of Paul is impeachment?
That, or if our soon-to-be appointed CBA catches him. Yes. And I did leave out Ed as the assistant secretary treasurer. Which a point I got taken to at the CBA meeting because I forgot that they didn't have an assistant CBA. But anyway. Okay, open up the floor for nominations for our engineer firm.
Make a motion that we retain the services of Unity.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Okay.
Motion and second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Open the floor for nominations for solicitor.
I make a motion to retain George.
So not just,
Yes, then I'll just, thank you.
there's no chairs here.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Open the floor for nominations for our certified public accountant, our auditor.
make a motion that we retain the services of Kelly, Ari, and Mahalik.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Last but not least, recording secretary.
Make a motion to retain this.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Elizabeth Hensel.
Second.
We have a second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now, meeting dates. Fourth Monday of every month. Is Monday still okay with everybody?
It is a bye.
It is a
Okay, so we have November and December we probably don't have to deal with this year, I'm thinking.
December is Christmas Eve.
December is Christmas Eve. Yes, it is.
Go the week earlier.
That would make it the 17th in December. 17th of December, okay?
The only question I have is for us to get our budget ahead of the borough, do we need to adjust anything?
Well,
October is when we need to do it.
yes, we need to get ours approved prior to the borough incorporating ours into theirs, putting it out for public comment, etc. I think what we can do is just kind of make that mandate on ourselves. I don't think there's
I'm looking
anything we
ahead of
really
time.
need to. If I don't remember, I'm sure one of the board members will remind me. It puts more of a burden on Bev to get the numbers out to us, so we have plenty of time to review them, so that come the October meeting, we can go ahead and get it approved.
Give me all that information right there.
So meeting dates is the third Monday, or excuse me, fourth Monday of every month, except for December, which is the third Monday, being the 17th, 6:30 at this location. Any objections? Do we have a motion as such and approve publishing said dates?
I make that motion.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? This one's a roll call.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion passed. Anything further for the reorganization? Hearing none, moving on to public comment. Sir?
Did you do publication?
Yes, that was included in the motion. That's why I did a roll call. Moving on to public comments. We have a lot of the public. Who would like to go first, if anybody?
Go ahead.
I'm Diane Weeks. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the engineering firm.
Unitech Consulting from State College.
Okay, and I was wondering after the 116 meeting with DEP, whether there's been any reflection with your group on, or any new concerns since that meeting?
Well, this meeting is only 5 days since that meeting, and this is the first meeting since that meeting, so I guess the answer to your question is no. We haven't had a chance. This is our first gathering. So,
Okay.
okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a couple things, but can you put that on the agenda for next month to talk about the concerns raised? Okay.
Well, we have public comment on the agenda already.
No, I mean amongst. Okay. You don't seem to understand what she was asking. Is if you could talk amongst yourself about anything that came up during the meeting with the DEP, like in November.
I think maybe, my guess is
Well-
that we're gonna have new business
Okay.
at this meeting. And I would be surprised if there wouldn't be some discussion
Yeah.
about the meeting at
Okay.
new business.
Okay, because I was going to ask you, in October we submitted you a bunch of questions and we asked you to put them on the agenda for the November meeting. And then in November, you mentioned that there was going to be, or in a November and December meeting, and in the December meeting you mentioned that there was going to be a meeting in January, so rather than discuss those questions and answer those questions that we submitted, you said you might as well wait until the
The-
January meeting, and maybe the DEP
In
could answer
November, when I
them.
responded to those questions, what I indicated is that those questions were not for CAMA. Those questions in that list of questions you gave were questions for Epiphany, for DEP.
And-
CAMA cannot answer those questions. If you want to give us specific questions concerning CAMA's part of this overall scenario, we'd be more than happy to address them.
Okay,
But
we're going
We
to.
cannot answer for Epiphany.
we'll
We cannot
reword
answer
those-
for DEP.
Okay, some of those questions were for CAMA. I get why you don't want to answer some of them.
Well,
Okay,
yeah, actually, you aren't in the mind of the board members, but
No.
what I think the chairman is saying is the request to be placed on the agenda is within the discretion first of the chairman. And at the last meeting, he said that he would consider putting
Okay.
it on the agenda.
okay,
And so that your statement, while fairly accurate, isn't quite as accurate. He said he would consider it and he would, discuss it with various members.
okay.
Mhm.
All right. One of the things that came up last meeting, while Epiphany was here, Mike Broker was here, I asked if they had registered as a business entity with the state, and I asked him for his entity number, and he refused, and the following day, he registered with the state as an entity. So now, he is officially Epiphany Allegheny LLC, but until December 20th, the day after we asked, he wasn't registered up until then. He registered on December 20th.
Okay, if you say so,
Well, I copied, I got screen grabs from the Department of State website, and you could go and do an entity search and see when they filed, so.
Is this just to notify us, or are you making?
Just to put it on record, because really you invested over $20,000 so far in a company that didn't exist until December 20th
Well,
of 2017.
No, that's not quite accurate.
Well-
A corporation exists at the point of incorporation.
On December
A
20th.
corporation does not have to incorporate in the state where it's doing business. What it has to do is register in the state where it's doing business, so that for the purpose of there being a registered agent to be, if they're sued, okay? So that, first of all, whether or not they were an existing corporation, you would have to check with either the State of Pennsylvania Corporations Bureau
Did?
or wherever they may be registered, maybe Delaware.
Yeah, it
Many
wasn't.
corporations.
Yeah, but they did register with the Department of State.
Right, but this is a registration, this is not an incorporation, which to me suggests in order to register, you'd register a fictitious name.
Who are they incorporating with?
What's that?
There's a corporation and there's an incorporation. They registered as a corporation. You keep taking
In
incorporation.
Pennsylvania, you're
When a joint
either,
accession is achieved, it is called an incorporation. I know what you're talking about, but I'm asking who's the incorporation with? Epiphany and,
it's just Epiphany. There's no-
and their business number was, as she says, referenced on December 20th.
For the registration in Pennsylvania was referenced. So if you need clarification of that, I refer you to them. If you feel
I have no
complaint,
contact with them, you guys do, and
if
you're a
you-
representative of me, so I refer through you.
well,
to
I don't
them.
know if we are or not. Are you a rate user in our?
A rate user?
Yeah.
Could you please define, am I a
Do
constituent?
you own a home that uses our services here?
We're going to sanitary sewer system is what he's asking.
Yeah?
No.
No, you're not. So you're not represented by this board.
Well,
Could she speak for
You
me?
know-
then?
considering
Well-
it's her time to
Well-
speak and you
Yeah.
haven't even been recognized yet.
And she was
since
addressing
just
you and
kinda-
he wasn't recognized, so let's not divvy ends here.
We can
I'm
do
sorry.
all the ends you want to,
And-
and I can just end it right now.
Indeed, I apologize. I'm sorry, Lori. It's your-
One of the things we learned when the DEP came, we did ask him we did ask them questions and we got answers. And one of them is if the effluent is going to be monitored for radiation. We were asking him if the fluid from the truck is going to be monitored going into the facility, whether it's going to be monitored for radiation between the facility and the sewage treatment facility, and from the sewage treatment facility going into the Allegheny River, and there's no monitoring required at all. They only monitor the outside of the truck. They have the truck go through detectors, so they're requiring Epiphany to sample once every 5 years for radiation. And so I'm asking you to purchase radiation detectors so that before it comes into the sewage treatment facility and before the sewage treatment facility it puts it into the Allegheny River, it's monitored for radiation.
My understanding of your question is that there is no additional requirement for monitoring.
That's right.
But you're asking
You?
for additional monitoring.
Mm-hmm, that's what I'm asking.
I will submit that question to our engineers for consideration so they could take a look at it.
Well,
if there's no requirement, then it becomes a more complicated issue for us. For instance, as costs. Do you have any suggestions regarding how to come up with the funds?
you put $20,000 into this project
The
so
answer
far,
is-
and that's not going to be reimbursed.
So the answer is no?
No, I'm asking CAMA to
No,
purchase
no,
it.
I asked you.
No, I
Relatively
don't.
cheap, right?
You don't.
Yeah, they're not
You
expensive.
have
and
one
I'm
at
not-
home, don't you?
Yes, but I'm asking CAMA to purchase radiation detectors.
Well, and I think that's a legitimate request, and we'll refer to our engineers to make that determination
Okay.
on both the economic and the health and safety.
Okay, one of the things is, one of the things we asked the DEP is who would be responsible if the effluent is radioactive and it goes into the stream and impacts the stream, and the DEP and a lot of us were standing around when they answered it, and CAMA and Epiphany are both responsible for the damage. And so I just wanted to let you know that CAMA was liable if the stream gets impacted. So you might want to consider that liability when you're considering buying radiation monitors.
Well, what we're considering is if we agree to ingest or intake Epiphany's process, entire plant. No, please let me finish.
Sure.
Well, that was the third time you cut me off, that's why.
I didn't cut you off. I made a
You
face.
No, you didn't say sure. All right. Anyway, getting back to the point. Could you repeat your question? You kind of befuddled me there a little bit.
Well, you were just going. Okay, I understand why you lost your train of thought. But what you were saying is that you didn't agree already to accept Epiphany's waste.
We have not made a determination. We submitted a letter of intent. But we've yet to negotiate the terms of that relationship. I think the first time I told you that was in our first 5-minute sessions. The second time I told you that was the second time you were here. The third time I told you that was the third time you were here. And I think if you check your recordings, you will find that you were told over and over and over that there's a two-phase project. The first phase is that they are going to work out of their facility that we will lease to them. The second phase is whether we will receive any of their waste for the purposes of refurbishing it. And that the second phase has not been determined yet, other than the submission to DEP of an intent to do it. But in terms of the contract, as you've been told 5 times, at least, that has not been negotiated yet.
So you applied for the NPDES permit for the sewage treatment facility, and that NPDES permit will allow you to accept the waste.
It will allow us, but
But you don't have the intention to accept the waste.
We do not have a contract yet to do so. What we're doing is the preliminary work that will allow us to go into negotiations with Epiphany. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, the MPDS permit, if you gain that permit, as you know, that would give the permission, but it doesn't bind you to accept that. It's not a binding, it's not a form of agreement with anyone to do anything, but it does indicate.
It would permit us
Okay,
to proceed.
may I ask just one more thing and then I'm done? Can we have a 30-day public comment period so the public could weigh in on your decision?
We'll certainly consider that and look into what will be required. Lonnie.
Hi, I'm Lonnie Joe. Most of you know me. Okay. The DEP, by our questioning, is definitely under the impression that there is a soft agreement with Epiphany to accept their modified waters from their project. I think that due diligence was not done before taking on and spending a large amount of money on this project. I think Epiphany is historically rather fly-by-night. And I know that they have been turned down by various communities in the area who did not want their game in their ballpark.
What
I-
specific
no,
communities?
I'm not done yet.
I just wanted to clarify. Do you have what communities?
Ulysses,
I'm sorry, I
they
wasn't
listed
listening.
Communities
Ulysses
that were
community
approached by
turned them
Epiphany
down,
first.
I believe.
Oh, you know what? The DEP said that they were all over the state
Yeah,
looking for
looking for sites.
municipalities.
No, my
According-
question is,
And-
who specifically turned them down?
Ulysses was one of them.
Um,
I cannot remember the other three that the DEP mentioned. I'm sure that we can come up with the names of the three that they mentioned. But when they mentioned them, they said, and others.
Yeah, if you could, that would help
Okay,
us, you know.
Epiphany,
No, not now, but.
okay, George. Just because it's not required for CAMA to care whether radiation is coming out of the truck, into the Epiphany plant, out of the Epiphany plant, into the sewage treatment plant, out of the sewage treatment, into the stream, doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it, okay? You gotta look beyond, because I don't think DEP really gives a rat's ass as long as they follow the letter rather than the spirit of the law that says to protect the waters, to protect the environment. Why the hell they ever let fracking into Potter County, the headwaters of 3 rivers, is beyond comprehension to me. But it's here, okay. Less than 3% of Epiphany's waste goes to Ohio. So that was a baloney.
KLM or Epiphanies?
JKLM.
JKLM.
Oh,
Less than 3%, and that 3% goes to a injection well out in Ohio. Less than 3% goes to Ohio. So that little charade, oh, we don't want to have to haul it clear to Ohio. Well, they don't. They do it primarily in Pennsylvania. And the stuff they send to Ohio is so toxic, so hot, that nobody in Pennsylvania will take it. And if we start taking it, boy, that's way off. Okay, Unitech, do you work for JKLM also?
Nope.
Really?
Yes,
Okay, good to
I
know,
mean, we don't.
good to know,
We work for CAMA and CBA up here.
okay. That goes against something I was told, but I will correct that thinking if that is the case. So I guess what I'm saying is, just because the DEP and EPA does not require you to check for radiation, doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Okay? That's pretty simple, that's pretty clear cut.
How do you know we're not going to? How do you
We
know
will
any of this?
consider it.
And we've
We will
already said
pass
we
it to
would
the
consider it.
engineer. We, you know,
Are you looking for a we're gonna test for radiation answer tonight? No,
I am
we haven't
asking-
even had a chance to discuss it yet. So
you
we
have
said that
had
we would
many
consider it.
chances to discuss it because this was brought up before. This was brought up before, and
There's
George,
been a
your
lot of
answer
things brought up
was,
before.
why would we? It's not required.
that was today. It was.
No, this was way back when I first
No,
started.
the first time it came
Yeah,
up
oh,
that
but-
it was not required was at the DEP meeting.
It came up before in the
Yeah,
past.
it came up before.
It may have, I
George,
don't recall, but.
I am willing to acknowledge and apologize for my mistaken things, but the things that I know were said, I'm not gonna,
Oh, and I know, I've known you, Lonnie, and I know
Yes.
you're an honest person.
and an honorable person.
Yeah,
And
sure.
I'm asking you all to be honorable also. There is no way, I mean, I watch these trucks go down the road leaking fluid. Some guy got up there and said, oh, well, we may as well clean it because them lazy truck drivers are dumping it in the creek anyway. Okay, well, I'm sorry. Those lazy guys dumping it in the creek should be drawn and quartered in my book, you know? And so, you know, let's get real, let's get honorable, let's quit playing this game where it's like, well, we didn't say for sure that we take it, but I heard the discussion that was just chit-chat before the meeting one that night. Epiphany's expecting you to take it.
I'm sure
Why
they
are they
are.
expecting you to? Because there's a soft agreement, which was in the lease.
Why
Right.
wouldn't this water be recycled back into the to the
First of
well?
all, wait.
That would be wonderful.
Why
Well,
would-
actually, I think that
All right,
we
first
should
of all,
shut
there's
down
no,
fracking,
legally,
but-
there's no such thing as a soft agreement. Either there is an agreement
Or there
or
isn't.
there is not an agreement. And I'm telling you, there is no legal agreement to proceed to phase two. It
Okay,
has not been negotiated. And if anyone from DEP is telling you there is a soft agreement, then have them check with their lawyer, because there's no such concept.
I
Okay?
don't think that was the words they used, you're right.
Okay.
The soft agreement was my words based on what I read in the lease that I read clear back when I first got it.
Right, to correct any confusion, we have submitted a letter of intent. We have also submitted the permits that would permit us to proceed and negotiate. But there is no contract and no commitment to proceed to phase two, okay? Your questions all deal with phase two, okay? When you're saying putting up monitors, okay, that's a good suggestion and it should be considered, but it will be when it's time to consider phase two. Right now, there's no need for monitors, because we're not gonna monitor frackers. We're interested in recycled water, okay? And so, to answer your question, I think most of what you've said is worth us taking a very serious look at, and I appreciate you raising it. But I hope that clarifies where we are, because there's been a lot of website information and what have you that has clouded where the project currently is.
All right,
Hand this to
Thank
you.
you.
so to close, I am within a minute of closing here.
Sure.
If
That's the
By
water board
chance,
meeting minutes. for
you
October.
decide to continue with phase two, why not require Epiphany to pay to monitor radiation?
I think that's
It's just a suggestion.
I think that if radiation were required, they would definitely be the ones that would be paying for it.
Required, no.
Required by us.
Okay, required by the community.
Right.
Excuse me, you know, you said there's no such thing as a soft agreement, but when I asked you, why is CAMA doing this? Why are you even going here with this? Because this is not proof technology. Epiphany can say they've done it before. They have never done 42,000 gallons a day. Your quote-unquote response to me was resources. That's exactly what you said to me. I said, why are you doing this? Why are you even taking it on? And you said resources. Now, if there's not some kind of soft agreement, then
Okay.
why would you say
So there-
resources to me? You must be talking money somewhere.
We have not talked money yet.
Well, then why did you say resources?
I
Is there
will-
some
I will
other type of
add- I
resources?
will ask your answer your accusatory question. And the way I'm gonna answer that is, we have a lease agreement with them.
Well, this
So
is
there
what
is
you
a
told
lease
me.
agreement.
This is what you told the
There is
room.
a lease agreement, and that's why we entered. Please don't assume that everything that is said to you is evil, okay? We have a lease agreement, and in that lease agreement, we gave you the reasons why we entered into that lease agreement. And then what we did was we gave you the reasons that we are considering phase two, okay? So if you were listening when I was answering Lonnie's questions, that's the stage that we're in. And in response to your question, there is no soft agreement. All there is, there's an existing lease for phase one, and that's it, period.
All right, well, I'm
That's-
just trying,
that's it.
I have,
The
you
answer.
know, you're saying stuff, we're saying stuff. Everybody's
No,
trying
no,
to
no,
make.
you're making a
make-
statement, and then in that statement, you've asked me a question, and hopefully I've answered it.
All right, but I didn't say anything that you didn't say.
I'm ready to move on.
You're what?
I'm ready to move on.
Okay.
He answered your question. Anybody else?
May I speak then?
You can, please, you sure can. All you gotta do is identify yourself for the record.
Norman Weeks, Weeks.
And your residence?
I live in Rowlett. Fisher Street.
So you're not a user of our system?
No, sir. I live downstream though, so I think I do have a valid interest.
Well, just for the
At some-
record, just for the record.
For the record.
You do, just for the record, you do not have a right to make public comment,
Oh.
because you're not part of the user
Oh, I
class.
don't know about.
However,
I would like to make a friendly comment.
however, the chairman has invited you to make a comment.
Okay.
So please do.
I would just like to give you guys some friendly advice, okay? And this comes from my experience. I worked in government for 20 years.
Doing what?
I worked in human services, okay? But we had big operations where we had to provide services so that people weren't abused. And a lot of what that type of job involves is risk assessment. If you can imagine a children and youth worker, they have to really kind of be experts in risk
I
assessment.
do quite a bit of work.
I've worked
Because-
in Potter County Human Services
There you
for
go,
8 years.
because
I
you're
know
dealing with
exactly what
serious
you're talking
issues.
about, so
All I'm
please
trying to say so
continue.
far is, we're really dealing with serious issues, and it's something that I have some experience with, for many years, as a matter of fact.
From a risk
When you're-
perspective.
When
Is that what
you're,
you're saying?
pardon me?
From a risk
Yes,
perspective?
yes.
Oh.
When you were making a risk assessment, I'm trying to give you some friendly advice. When you're making a risk assessment, you have to balance the seriousness of the risk with the likelihood that it'll happen, okay? So if you're skateboarding and you're gonna skin your knee, no big deal. But, you know, if you're jumping out of an airplane and the risk is death, even though it's small, it might not be worth taking. You have to think about that, okay? Now, people can make their own
I did.
decisions on how much risk they want to take. You know, you can be a mountain climber, a logger, very dangerous profession, but they make that decision and they accept those risks. Well, that's an individual, but you are not individuals. You are representing people. And when you take a risk, it's not a risk just for yourself. You're assuming risk to, you see where I'm going with this, other people and other things and so on. So my friendly advice is that you should really look at what the risks are of something bad happening. And as Lonnie, I can use the phrase due diligence, is what this amounts to. When you first started, you might not have known. And at some point, you got more knowledge and so forth. At some point, you might have been able to say, well, we didn't really, we're like, he said, we can't test the frackers or run the frackers or control the frackers. We're just a water board. We have to sort of take, not just on faith, but on science and a rational decision, what these epiphany people are going to do. And when I saw what the guy was talking about, he said, well, our system failed within hours, and our real technology is it's not going to fail. And think of Murphy's Law. When you're dealing with complicated systems, if something can go wrong, it probably will. Okay? So I'm just saying, equipment malfunction is not in the statistics. There's lies and damned lies and statistics. Equipment malfunction, look at the risk, the chances. The statistics are that the chances of human error, equipment malfunction, all of this other things that can go wrong. Okay? So at this point, I'm giving you some friendly advice. There's a lot of stuff that can go wrong, and wrong in a big way. And maybe at one point you could have claimed that, well, we didn't understand, or we didn't have all the information, but the point what I'm leading up to saying is, you can't say you didn't know any better when something goes wrong, right? Because I'm telling you, lots of people are telling you, everybody is telling you. That's something.
No, not everybody is
All right.
telling us.
All right, but
Okay, let's not stretch it
I'm
out
done.
too wide, okay?
I'm done. But you,
I mean, I give you
I made
plenty
my
of time
point.
to talk here.
All right.
Yes, we know we're taking a risk. If everything is a risk, I get in my truck and drive to my house, I'm taking a risk, my brakes don't give out and I slam into a telephone pole.
That's you. You're
Okay?
representing other
That-
people here, though.
And this board, these
Okay,
members
but-
take
but-
their position very seriously and with
Good.
not any problem.
Thank you.
First of all, do you have any hard science degrees or certifications? Hard science?
No, I don't. I'm not
Okay, well, let me
interested.
just tell you that we have consulted with various experts in our field. We have on retainer professional engineers to advise us. We have legal staffs that legally advise us. So I know you don't intend to, but please don't talk down to us. Like you have a bunch of people here, most of whom have experience in a lot of areas and who have relied on major experts and are looking after the welfare of the community. And my gosh, we do know what risk management is. I have a master's
Okay.
in poli-sci, so.
All right.
Okay, so thank you for your comment, and it's greatly appreciated. But just know that it's not a bunch of dummies getting a wool pulled over their
I
eyes.
didn't mean to lecture you or to talk down to you, but I want to make the
If I
point.
misunderstood that, then I apologize.
I'm
Your point is well
sorry
taken.
if I have a little emotional, but